Let's talk about my preferences, what gets my juices flowing, what makes me tick. What I'm looking for and what I really like is a more of a balanced sound signature with a slight bass boost. I like my bass, but I like my bass tight. I like it fast. I like it to hit hard and have some slam. I do not like that extra big bass shelf boost that's sub-bass driven, where the lower bass is scooped out. I think it's really important to have that information down there to make instrumental like piano, guitar, cello sound correct. But also I like the bass fast enough, speedy enough to make kick drums sound great. When it comes to the rest of the mids, I prefer an overall maybe slightly warm tilt. I'm not a big fan of overly analytical, too dry a tuning. I'd rather have something a bit more musical. When we start to climb up into the ear gain region, make that pinna gain not so steep, but give some energy to some body into the mids. Again, making vocals sound correct, making instrumentals sound correct. I'm a big fan of timbre and tonality when it comes to instrumental as well. It has to sound correct to my ears. That 5K area also, I'm a bit sensitive to it. If there's too much information up there, I get fatigue, I get ringing in my ears, and it just doesn't let me play it longer and, more importantly, louder, because I do like my tunes louder. When it comes to the rest of the frequencies up top, I do like an extended treble, but not a peak above the pinna rise. Keep it extended, keep it detailed, but don't put too much energy up there for treble sensitive people like myself. It's got to have enough information to make great stage, to give instrument placement, to make strings sound good, female vocals that aren't too thick. That's what really gets me going, and that's what I'm looking for sound preference wise. Welcome back. Let's talk Tino today. Shanling's newest little two dynamic drivers. $79, and it comes, I really like this one, so a little bit of gushing of my emotions coming forth, and you will see, if you've just watched my beginning, my preferences, well, this hits all of them, absolutely to a T. Let's talk about these little IMs. They use this kind of burnt foil underneath this clear resin. What a beautiful, unique top plate. Small little resin shells. Gorgeous. Nice little lip for your ear tips as well. And it comes with this really, really nice modular cable, SPC. Here's something to note. When you buy this one, it comes with 3.5. If you want to get the 4.4, $9 extra. If you want to get the USB-C end, not a DAC chip, just an end, that is $12. So that is kind of unique, and I liked it, actually. Instead of having Shanling raising the price to cover those, they do make it separate. So not everybody needs the 4.4 or the USB-C, so it is nice that they do have a modular cable, but just be aware that if you needed those extra ends, they are an additional cost. Inside of these teeny little shells, and when I mean they're small, so the nice thing about that is that they should fit everybody. Small ears, big ears, no problem, especially smaller ears. It's nice to have a smaller shell so that everybody can fit it in, right? Inside here is there's a 10 millimeter LCP, liquid crystal polymer, rubber surround. That is the base driver that's being used in here. Later on in this video, I'll also just give you a comparison to another Shanling, the ME600, with a dual 6 millimeter biodynamic drivers. The mids and highs are taken care of by an 8 millimeter diamond-like carbon for the top end, and what a great choice this was. Again, one of these IMs that is the great combination of driver selection and tuning. Put them together with some careful thought, and you get a wonderful IM. They did not skimp out on the dynamic drivers. They're saying that they use imported Japanese copper, pure copper voice coils, N52 magnets, which, if you're not familiar with that, is one of the best magnets you can use for a motor structure. The more magnetic power you have inside of your little speaker, the more control you're going to have over the cone, the back and forth movement, lower distortion, better clarity. I know a lot of these marketing speaks throw those things out there, but they give you the feature, but they don't give you the advantage or the benefit to you of what they're actually going to translate down. So I kind of like, I used to work for a speaker manufacturer. I can tell you all about it. A really great little package. You get one of those little puck cases, right? I'm not showing you that one. It looks the same as that one. And packaging and everything for $80. It's very well done. I can't complain about any of that. Let's get into sound. How I would describe the Tino. Well, I love the fact of the name, the Tino, and it's kind of for me a play on tiny, which it is. I'm going to show you fitment right off before we jump into sound profile. I'm using these Pen-On orange liquor tips, whatever. Lacquered, schmackered. The Tino is, for me, this is the biggest takeaway. because they're using the dynamic driver for mids and highs instead of balanced armatures or piezoelectrics or planar, it is a very natural sounding mid-range. And between the two drivers, there is a perfect coherency. You can't tell where one leaves and one picks up the next set of frequencies. The Tino is naturally smooth. The dynamic drivers are quality. And again, I found the 8mm one for the mids and treble are excellent. And I really like the choice of the bass driver as well, and I'll get into that too. If you followed my channel, you understand that I have certain preferences when it comes to drivers as well. And I've been doing this long enough to get a good feel of what different driver materials kind of have their own sound signature. Like beryllium, for me, those dynamic drivers go low, but they're still on the speedier side. If you go to full metal diaphragms like titanium, they're better for upper frequencies because they respond faster. The cone is lighter. So that kind of thing. Biodynamic drivers have this kind of deep, organic sub-bass rumble that sounds really wonderful. This sounds like that too. The tuning, and I'm going to pull up a graph here. So when I said at the beginning, it's the whole package. So choice of dynamic drivers and the tuning. So you have to put in some thought. You can't just slap stuff in a shell. It happens all the time and pumps it out on the market. That is what we're dealing with in the hobby. Here, they have, it's not a sub-bass focused IM, and that is not my preference anyway. I like having bass, and to bass for me means that it has some body and weight into the usable part of the bass, which is 80 hertz, 100 hertz, 150 hertz, and then you're getting into the mid bass. Well, here you can see a beautiful glide down into the mid bass. And so for the lower frequencies, I would describe the Tino as a warmer sounding lower end. And it adds enough weight and body to make male vocals sound fantastic. Bass guitar, naturally done. Again, I'm not sure which driver is doing those jobs, but whatever it is, they sound very natural. Piano, guitars, cello, all very, very nice. And I love the extra weight and the body. Something's fallen. Down below, and to me that glide without the mid bass scoop is how it should be done, to my ears, that's for sure. The deep organic bass though is pretty incredible on this little set. This 10mm LCP driver has still slam and impact, and part of that, again, I'm not sure what driver, where the crossover frequencies are, but whatever's doing that in the frequency range is doing a really good job on the fact that it still has great slam and impact to the bass. And again, that's part tuning and part driver as well. And now as we climb into the ear gain, the middle of the mids, again, kind of flattened out, quite nice. And again, at that 1000 hertz is where we typically see. Now, in a harmonish one, you'll see that the ear gain climbs up quite steeply, where this one is more of a gentle glide up into the upper mids. And let's talk about that, because this is a bit different tuning. If you were looking at, and I was looking at the graphs between the SIMGOD EA500 LM, time I finally, nozzled foams, filters, the brass nozzle with red ring, to get it down, the upper mids down, I still find that I am, with this kind of tuning, a bit shouty. And while you get about 12 dB of ear gain. It gives the Tino tons of energy up top for vocals and instrumental. But the interesting part is it never gets shouty or in your face. It's very well done, very well tuned. Now, not all sources, and I'll talk about that later in this review, gave me those impressions. Kind of interesting and a bit different. The Tino, straight up, is not a detail monster or the most airy tuning I have heard, of course. I certainly don't feel like anything is missing up top, though. And because it's got lots of energy, at the 2, 3, 4, and then it starts to decline around the 5, 6, and there's that sibilant dip. And there's a little bit of a peak around 8K, and I think that's legit, because I think that's adding in some treble up top, and then there's some later on that you can hear. So again, the 711 coupler, the 711 coupler doesn't measure upper registers frequencies that well, but you can actually hear more treble than what the graph would indicate, that's for sure. Stage is more on the intimate side. It's not a 3D beast on this one. Again, it makes it for a funner listen. Your attention is not pulled away. But instruments still have their placements, and you can pick those easily out in the stage. So, not a crazy 3D stage, fun stage. Now, just to go over some tracks and how I heard the Tino with some tracks and some music, right? That's the best way to describe how you're hearing it. Friction by the Crystal Method. I'm a big EDM fan. I love some bass and some slam. Well, the Tino does have some bombastic bass. It does go down really low and deep, has excellent punch and slap. 100% for EDM. Absolutely loved it for that. The Tino, like all better quality drivers that gets used, responds differently to different sources. On the very clean analytical Con Max, the Tino is still no detail monster, but comes across as natural, effortless replay. No bass bleed, but still having elevated bass punch and a nice upper mids and sparkly top end. I also observed after about 100 plus hours of burn-in, and this is a bit important, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. What I observed, the occasional borderline sibilance that I was getting was completely gone and replaced with a more exciting and detailed mid-range and a nice sparkly top end. Not the most airy and dry top end, because the weight of the lower mids carries up into the upper mids for a great mix and a really nice balance between the lower warmth and the energy up top. It's quite a lovely tuning. So I wouldn't describe this whole thing as an overly warm the entire IM, but definitely down below. Again, that's kind of one of my preferences. And then up top, a nice amount of energy in the upper mids and treble to give it lots of detail. Female vocals are great, instrumental, fantastic, that kind of stuff. It's a really great tuning. Did I say that? I think I did a couple times. I Love Yous by Haley Steinfeld. Fantastic female vocals, nice deep weighted bass that doesn't overpower the vocals, and just the right amount of treble. A clean, organic, and wonderful playback on this song. And to throw something else in there, let's try some Wheat Kings by good old Canadian, the Tragically Hip. Male vocals, just as good as female vocals. One of these rare IMs that can do that. Piano, guitar, all sound terrific. Makes the Tino, I think, in my opinion, a great all-rounder for all genres, including rock, EDM, jazz, and hip-hop. I think would be a little bit less so with classical, but strings still sound great. Some of the pros for me for the Tino: cohesive, natural sounding. Mids are very, very, they just sound effortless. That's the best way I'm going to describe it. Where a good quality dynamic driver, I think, does this better than any other kind of driver. Deep organic bass with having great impact and decay. The smaller shells, the stellar looking shells, absolutely beautiful. The beautiful cable. And again, Shanling making the decision to keep the cost lower and not throw in a whole bunch of ends you might or might not use. I think that was a wise decision. Pick the terminations you need and don't pay anything extra. The price, or should I say the value equation of a quality dual dynamic IM, nicely accessorized for $79 is excellent. It honestly puts much higher end offerings to shame on what it's actually giving you. Some of the cons that I thought maybe the Tino is not for detail seekers, and it's definitely a more colored IM. So this one's not going to be for neutral heads. This is going to be for somebody who likes the lower warmth, the extra energy down below, not afraid of bass, likes their slam and their impact, doesn't mind, in this case, doesn't have really too much bass bleed or any at all that I could tell, but if it did have some, I was liking it. And then that extra energy up top in the upper mids to make it really sound dynamic and fun, but not pushing it over the top. Did I mention it has a great tuning? The last thing I want to say about the Tino, if you have picked up or listened to the ME600, a very unique one too. Shanling did a fantastic job. This is one I would describe as warm the entire IM, right? The bottom end and the top end being a little bit more relaxed, still yet detailed, and they did a pretty great job of making the stage and everything kind of pop out here. The ME600 has those dual 6mm biodynamic drivers, and they slam. They really do, and because they're smaller, you get some great impact. But there's some bass in this thing. Where the Tino is warm in the lower mids, it's more energetic up top. One of the interesting things to note is this little dual dynamic versus this hybrid. This thing needs about twice as much power to get to the same volume, so it does like its power. But they both share that kind of deep organic, I don't know if that's a Shanling house sound, but I love it. In the bottom end, the bass department, the ME600 just has a whole bunch more of it. Where this would be, I love it for jazz too. It's just a really great sounding chill set, and I think the Tino would be kind of the Tino teaser for what you could get in the bass department of Shanling's house sound. But for female lovers and somebody who likes a little bit more energy up top for some funner sound, the Tino is the way to go. It's a really lovely. I quite enjoy it. I like the tuning. Did I mention that? That's the end of this review. I've really said all I wanted to say. Thank you for watching once again, and we'll talk soon.